think it's time for some audience polls.
Oh,
Sam.
Sam.
I've been waiting. I'm ready. We got good ones tonight here.
All right, let's go, Sam.
Very interesting polls. So we're going to kick it off. Poll. That's what I'm saying. We're going to kick it off with a question that I think now is a little bit more kind of firmly cemented. I don't know if it's as much up for debate, but there was definitely a period of time where this was something that was a hot button issue, or at least, definitely a question that was being asked. But are documentaries films? So,
okay.
Luckily, and I'm happy to report, 60% said yes, 60? Of course. That's what's interesting. So I'm happy that it's, leading the charge, but only 60%.
So what if they're okay? Go ahead. Sorry, jumping the gun.
Yeah. Slow down, Nick. Slow down.
I will.
So kinda maybe was 28%. So the halfway, and then no way they are not 12%. So
I just don't understand. Then what is it then? If it's not a film, then what is it? That's the part that kills me. I'm like, what is it then?
It's a documentary what?
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I just said I don't get it. And maybe that's the difference. It's like maybe people are thinking about films like they're just supposed to be candy.
Well, that's
right.
That's I think
so. If it's not candy, if it's not just hyper entertaining, then no, it's not a film, right? It's not making me happy. It's not. It's like that's not what film is.
It's not a main line of dopamine, right? It's. I think they might be losing the plot between kind of what is a movie, right, versus a film. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
but it's also a movie.
It's not. No, right. I agree, but it's not Avengers. And I think that people might think, oh my gosh, that is a movie. You know what I mean? And they don't fully understand the scope of it. So
yeah, on one hand, we can rejoice that 60%, the majority of people by the way, our audience are film people. So this isn't like a poll taken from the general population. These are people that aspire or are in filmmaking. So at least the majority believe a documentary is film. The fact that 40% are like in some other camp is depressing. Will, Mahu, thoughts on this?
I mean, I think some people look at documentaries and they think that they're more like news, journalism perhaps, and they make some kind of a distinction. I don't, I mean, our film was informed by journalism, but it's not a journalistic film per se, but we, abided by the canons of journalism in terms of the way we told our stories and our ethics and so forth. I think that's part of it. And I think it's something that Sam was alluding to, that I think a lot of people, I have some friends and family members who are conservative, and my wife will say she's very, how can you still be close to them? Well, they're my friends from my childhood and they're my family, and we can agree to disagree, and I can still actually love them. They are still human beings. So, come on, like, where are we going to be if we all want to kind of just demonize each other to the nth degree? We have to start talking. But I think that a lot of people feel like documentaries are propagandistic, it's fake news. So I think there's some kind of reaction to that. I'm not suggesting that's your audience, but I don't know. I'm not sure, but I know that that's part of what I hear. A childhood friend saw the film, thought it was really well done, was moved, and he said, I think it's really wonderful that you're still idealistic. And I wasn't sure if that was a compliment or how to take it. And I tried to get him to unpack it. And he said, well, you have hope. And I said, how else is there to be in the world, right? The Dalai Lama, who I've been lucky to interview 3 times and spend a little bit of time with, would say, there is no path to hope. Hope is the path. And it doesn't mean that you're an airhead walking around, everything's great and it's going to be great. I'm not suggesting that. It's steeped in some form of realism and reality. But, we want to try to find stories that have meaning to people's lives, that that show the struggle and that show the triumph, and and to give hope and to say, hey, communities coming together can create positive change in the world. So I don't know. I kind of way diverged off of the question, but that's my response.
No. You hit it on the head, man. I think, and what's interesting about that is the hope part, because how can you not be a hopeful person when you see the manifestation of hope in those communities, right? Because you have to hope when you have little. You have to hope when you have nothing, right? So, but the other part of it is that I think hope absent love does not triumph. So what happens is that they have hope. They express that hope through the love of the earth, the love of each other, the love of the community. And oddly enough, with the very little resources that they have, they are able to topple governments, multinational corporations.
Yeah.
How can that not make you idealistic and hopeful? And you're living it. And I think that's the difference, is that you live that experience. He just has a small window into it. So you will always be the hopeful, idealistic person that you are, because you see this firsthand.
Preach.
I mean, Maho's been involved with our work with the Goldman Environmental Prize. Every year they recognize 6 grassroots environmental activists from around the world who have achieved this seemingly unachievable goal. If there are 6 who won, that means there's probably 30 that were nominated that were equally deserving, and hundreds more who no one knew about. But the media in our country is more about conflict, and it's more about it's not so much about those kind of positive stories of people creating change. I think there's this tendency for the media to make us feel like we're isolated, and like we're it's the individual is
social
more
media
important.
For sure will.
Yeah, right. Whereas it's all about the collective. I mean, get together. You want to create change in the world? Get together with a group of like-minded friends and start going out and doing something, and you'll see that you guys are both very articulate, charismatic people. If you wanted to change something, I'm convinced you would make it happen. And Maho, you've seen that. You've seen it as much as I have, and in your work before we started working together.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was gonna just echo what you said, that I mean, you could make a film on your own, but it would be extremely hard. Maybe a personal film, but even to make a successful film, you need a crew, and it's a labor of love, and it requires time. Or if you want to defend, let's say, a watershed next to where you live, you also need to get together with other people. And that was the most inspiring thing for me working in this project, seeing these communities, as you said, like people with so little resources getting together. They don't have internet. At least the community in Chile where they live, there's no like running water, there's no bathroom with water, there's no supermarket nearby, there's no public transportation, internet. And but they want to live there because that's their land, so they have that connection, and they're so determined to protect it that they get together with other people. And it's hard, because it's hard to work with other people sometimes, but it's the only way to make any kind of change. And it's so much gratifying when you do things with other people, I think. And that's one thing that I miss, living here in this country, because I work mostly from home on my own, and it can get very, very isolating, and you kind of lose perspective. You feel like you're the only person in the world, and all the problems evolve about around yourself, and just need to get out and like interact with people. And hopefully that's not the trend. I mean, sadly that's not the trend, but I think that's where we should all go, to work in collaboration again and just help one another more. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it is the only way.
Well, I think things get cliche because they're true. It's when things things tend to turn cliche when they tend to be true. And I think it's a wonderful affront to being bombarded by sort of technocrats all the time, and technology that does isolate, although it does bring a degree of joy and access and speed of work and efficiency and things like that. But we have to buffer against the downside. By the way, shout out to the Dalai Lama, who is on the record saying that he likes Will more than Richard Gere. And
he doesn't even know who I am. I'm sure of that. He would recognize me. If he saw that profile, he would remember me.
And I'm the whole response reminded me of something Tyler, the Creator, just said recently, which is that to make great art, you have to be delusional. It's a prerequisite for creativity is the delusional belief that you can make something that doesn't already exist. And to me, that's a form of hope.